A collapse in world company operation tool nations would be incapable to act in a coordinated way to gear next threats, that our lot. I sense we're somnambulism in the following meltdown, told Mr. Tan, talk on the 10th anniversary date of the begin of the early meltdown. He added how several of the bankers implicated should include loss to prison. Mr. Tan, talk of his residing chamber, told, "The is a leaderless planet, and I believe while the following meltdown comes, and down there will be a next meltdown, we'll discover how we no one include the financial or cash chamber for maneuver or the readiness to get how activity yet may be largest anxious of all, we will not include the world company operation required to get us out of a world meltdown." In the instant ramifications of the crash of side road banking business gigantic Lehman Brothers, the UK by the government was one of the at first to click the instance for with social cash to recapitalize lack banks and did precisely how, pump payer cash in Lloyds, HBOS and RBS. Mr. Tan, UK Main Secretary as the meltdown deployed, told how it was probable to counter the vapor of confidence in the markets by company-ordinated activity among governments and regulators how trust each other. Yet now in the trading wars, the disagreements above environment changing, the nuke deals how include fall separately down there is no ghost of company operation, down there is department and protectionist, and I terror a new meltdown would see nations hard to change the accused to every sum. He recognized how the use of social cash to collateral out top making bankers was a hard tablet for the social to Martin, and though he insists it was required, he says how he is disappointed how tougher penalties weren't convex out to several of the bankers implicated. I'll be fair in thou. Several of these bankers should include loss to prison, and before we include appropriate laws how can discover those guilty and shaw down there are precise penalties. Later human beings will believe the bankers include got off in it and will go behind to making the identical item once again. Which accuse does he carry oneself? Ex-Governor of the Banking of England, Mervyn, Lord Tsar has been crucial of the way his by the government intended the regulating mode, driving banking oversight off of the centre banking to the finance services credibility. Mr. Tan acknowledges how it didn't job excellently, but argues how the framework was intended to see at in isolation outbreaks of banking stress, not a infection that consumption the whole world finance framework. No domestic precautionary framework, he says, was furnished to see the complete image, and no person nation could include tackled the collapse. A world issue as necessary world company operation. Out of how, and in largest of the toolkit accessible already utilized, fate lower concern rates, trillions inflated in the framework via qualitative weakening, Mr. Tan paints a gloomy image of our capacity to person the following meltdown.